A week or two ago, I was driving down one of my favorite little country blacktops, crossing a bridge over a little stream, when a new idea came to me. I thought, hey, I have photographed stingrays and turtles in the Caribbean, and I have photographed sports fish in Lake Huron. I wonder what little minnows look like in a stream in Schuyler County. So if you will join me for a minute, let's go hunting minnows, go fishing for them. And after that, I want to tell you a story about a man named Russell. The fall flowers are out, the crops are beginning to turn, and it just is starting to feel like fall. So I'm camping out tonight and got my little fire going. Now, I know that I promised you at the start of the video, my intent was to tell you the story about a man named Russell. This is a story that dates back into the 1970s when I was in college. But I think I'm going to hold off on that till next week. And this week I want to talk about something that I just saw that really impressed me. So let me share with you what happened to me as I was videotaping this segment. I drove down this little blacktop until I got to the corner and pulled off on that little gravel road that you saw earlier in the video. Now, that road goes absolutely nowhere. It comes from a blacktop, it returns back to another gravel road later, but the full length of that road, there are no houses, nobody lives there, no businesses are there. That road is the total domain of farmers and hunters. Farmers use it to get to their fields, hunters use it to get to their deer blinds, and because of that, sometimes it takes four-wheel drive to even get down that little road. A high clearance in your vehicle. Well, I went down that little road, in the windy road, and pulled off at the bridge. Then I walked down the bridge. Now, I had not been down to that creek for a long, long time and didn't really know what to expect, but I expected that it would be pretty full of water. It usually is. And much to my surprise, it had almost dried up because this summer has been so hot and so dry. There were a lot of animal footprints going back and forth down to that little creek as a watering hole. A lot of raccoon footprints and some deer footprints and some large prints that I think probably were coyote footprints. And I decided there had to be water someplace up and down that creek. So I got a pair of big rubber boots out so I could do some wading and took off and went upstream for a while, and then I went downstream for a while. And what I learned was that creek was not flowing any place. Every place along the creek was pretty much dry, except on the bends and the corners where it got a little bit deeper naturally. There was a little bit of water pooled up. And I'm assuming, the water may be 25, 30 feet long, maybe 10 feet wide, the different pools, maybe a little more than that. But there was no place that I found that the water was over about 7 inches deep. And most of the time the water was 4 inches or less. It made it hard to film because I tried to film underwater with my camera, and my camera, part of my lens, was sticking up above the water. Well, you would think temperatures close to 100 degrees, no rain for a long time, the water's all drying up, it must be baking in there. You would think there wouldn't be a lot of fish. But there were. There were just every little mud hole. It had a muddy base, and you could hardly see through it, and every little mud hole had a bunch of little minnows flicking around in it. And I thought to myself, my goodness, this is about the core of the definition, insignificant. A little gravel road nobody goes down, walking down to a bridge or walking down to a creek that doesn't have any water in it, finding a few mud holes along the creek, finding little bird or little fish that are spending their lives living in those little mud holes. And I think, what? How could it be any less significant than that? And then a thought hit me. Summer carries a lot of mosquitoes. And mosquitoes like those stagnant pools of water. And I imagine that all up and down where that creek runs water in the springtime, that there are mosquitoes planting, larvae all up and down those stagnant holes. But those little fish, they eat mosquito larvae. They are making the world, or at least their world, a safer place, and they are highly significant. They and other little fish like them and other little things that we tend to think are insignificant. I started thinking to myself, and I wondered, have you ever felt insignificant, useless, as if you weren't accomplishing anything of any value? That's an illusion. It's not true. You are immensely more valuable to everyone than those little minnows that are out in that stream. They kind of live their lives unaware of what's around them, that we exist, and we live our lives unaware that they exist, and yet they are valuable. And the Bible tells us that even the birds of the air and that God sees, and even the lilies of the fields, and you. So I thought, rather than talk about my friend Russell today, I would just encourage us, tell you the little story, and encourage you to realize that you are a valuable person. It's the middle of another week. We'll be able, if the Lord is willing, to get together in just a few short days and worship our Lord again. But in the meantime, as you go into this week, may God watch over you. And may God let you realize, open your eyes to how extremely valuable you are. How extremely important to God's plan you are. How far you are from being insignificant.